What's going on YouTube? This is the brand new iPhone 14 Pro, and as you can see from my table, I've been an Android user for the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'd say at least 10 years or so. I decided to switch to the 14 Pro for one main reason, so I'm going to give you my thoughts on how it is using an iPhone as an Android user, and I'm going to let you know which device I'm actually going to end up keeping at the end of the video. Just going to give you my top 5 reasons right now. If I try to do a video on all the things I liked or disliked, the video would probably be 5 hours long and ain't nobody got time for that. Let's get into my top 5 reasons why I switched. I'm going to let you know about the iPhone 14 Pro as an Android user. Let's get into it. I am an Android user, as you can tell from my channel. I've basically done Android devices for the past couple of years. And I just really love Android as an operating system. I love how it's evolved, and I love how every year, every iteration, the iPhone and Android just become more similar. Both companies, both operating systems are stealing from each other, and that's all right. They improve upon it. And one of the places where they've improved upon it, at least in my opinion, is with the always-on display. Now, if I show you an always-on display here from one of the Android phones, this is Apple's iteration of always-on display, and it took them 14 years to finally give users an always-on display, which is something that Android's had for, I don't even know how many years. Let's call it 5 just to keep things simple. iPhone gave us full color. iPhone gives us a much brighter always-on display than Android. Android is basically a very, very dim screen with the time, with your weather, with your date, and of course, every manufacturer does always-on display a little bit differently. But the main premise is the same. You get a very dim always-on display. With Apple's AOD, guys, I still can't get over the fact that when I place it on my table and I'm doing work, I look over and I really think my phone is on. I don't know if I'm ever going to get used to it, but I do like the widgets. I do like the color. I think it's just a nice iteration. And if I was given a choice, which we're all given a choice, let's be real, I would go for the full color. I just think it's more dynamic. Other than the always-on display, the actual panel on the iPhone 14 Pro is something that I noticed the minute I took this out of the box, set it up, and went outside and started using this. With a max brightness peakness of 2000 nits, this gets really bright in sunlight, one of the brightest phones that I've actually used. And in terms of quality, I actually think this is one of the better panels on the market as well. Just everything is nicely saturated, everything is vibrant, everything is super, super colorful. Now I know that's kind of hard to say, especially coming from Samsung phones, which really have an awesome display. But for some reason, I kind of find myself liking the iPhone's display a little bit more than any other company that I've used. So the 6.1-inch panel on the 14 Pro does a really, really nice job. And I think overall the fit and finish, the quality of workmanship, the quality of materials on an iPhone is something I always had envy about. Samsung does a nice job, but there's something about the feel of an iPhone that always had me wanting to buy one. Of course I haven't, I never did until the 14 Pro, but when you pick one up, you're definitely going to feel this premium feeling. Now speaking of picking it up, it is a boxy design. It is kind of like a squared off kind of brick in your hand when you compare it to other devices that have more of like a rounded type of feel to them. Now, I don't like rounded edges. I don't like these curved edges. I really think Android needs to get away from curved edges. The flat screen, the flat panel is where it's at, so bring flat back. That's what I'm going to say on all of my videos until it happens. But the one thing about a flat panel is if you get a larger phone, and that's why I decided not to get the Max, it's just not as manageable in your hand, especially when you throw on a case. It just becomes more of this brick in your hand, and you definitely feel that boxiness when you hold it. So again, I chose the Pro model just for that reason. So the display is something I really like, but the main reason why I decided to get the iPhone this year around is for the dynamic island. I just think this dynamic island is super cool, guys, and at the moment, I will admit it is half-baked. It's not fully there yet in terms of what I would like to be showing on the dynamic island. Apple showed off sports scores, and I think that's a great use for this dynamic island, because when you have your screen locked, you'd still be able to see the sports scores, and I think that's just a really cool thing once it finally gets developed, and once more developers get on board. This dynamic island is going to be more useful than not, but at the moment you can see you can interact with your podcast, you can interact with maps, you can see you have your directions right there, and as you move along, as you drive or whatnot, you can kind of see where you have to go, or of course you can just press on it to see the route where you're supposed to take as well. And I just really like this use of the dynamic island. So I think once this is fully baked, I'd say it's probably going to take about a year. So by the time iPhone 15 comes around, not only will you see all of these Android devices copy it, every manufacturer is going to jump on board, because I think this is just an ingenious idea. But I think it's going to be more fully baked, and I think it's going to prove itself useful over time. Now, just as a side note, before we get a little bit too crazy here, it does kind of interrupt your viewing excitement. So let me turn on Wi-Fi because I'm not in the best area in the office right now for a signal. I don't really turn on Wi-Fi, and I'm going to get into that with battery life in just a minute. But here we go. If we put on a mashup, if you're trying to watch multimedia, again, this is an awesome panel. Watching multimedia is an excellent experience, but you can see that huge notch kind of gets in the way. Now, this isn't a great example. Let me kind of open up something with a better background. So here we go. If you're trying to like watch a YouTube video, I don't really notice this. Again, it's something that you don't notice after a while. Sure, when you first get this phone, you're definitely going to notice that this island is taking up a decent amount of your screen. But really, guys, you don't notice it all that much, and you don't have to watch in full screen. Thankfully, YouTube lets you zoom in or zoom out to your heart's content, so you can really find that perfect place where the island is not really bothering you too much. In terms of the overall display, once again, the dynamic island does not bother me. I like the Face ID, the secure face unlock. This is something that Android has to get on board with. Just being able to use your banking apps and being able to log into all of your secure applications without putting in a fingerprint is something I really enjoy. Of course, there's no fingerprint on the 14 Pro here. Now, in terms of the speakers are loud, no problems with these speakers, so just take a listen.
Or two, if you know, I think Apple's worth 3, whatever the number is. This is going to be $1 trillion company because the people that ran Twitter, they don't know how to make money, and Elon knows how to make money. He's going to create different chips. Right. Whether it's going to be, you want a blue chip to get rid of the bots, $4.99 a month. You want an additional, benefit to.
So the speakers are nice. They're not as loud as some other Android devices out there, but I really have no problems listening to anything while I'm in my office, in my home. When I'm just walking through the street, I can still hear these speakers very clearly. When it comes to the display and dynamic island and the notch and all of that stuff, I'm really happy with the iPhone 14 Pro. I think Apple did a really nice job. Something else that I like about iPhone when it comes to accessories, I love accessories, guys. If you've been following my channel for a while, I love cases, I love add-ons, I love every little thing about accessories. Depending on which Android device you get, say for example the Pixel 6a, not too much is out for the 6a in terms of accessories. My Honor Magic 4 here, basically nothing. I had to resort to a case from AliExpress. And that's basically all I can find for this. Now, if you do have Samsung devices, you are getting a plethora of accessories. And again, it comes down to how many devices are sold and how many people are actually buying accessories for their devices. iPhones are out there with millions and millions of users, so of course manufacturers want to jump on board and make an accessory that's going to make them money. MagSafe is where it's at. MagSafe is just something that I can't live without anymore. I mean, just take a look at this leather wallet stand case from a company called Moft. I'm going to do a review on this in just a little bit, but you always have a stand with you. You always have the ability to kind of watch whatever you watch while you're waiting for your train, while you're waiting for your date, whatever you're doing. You don't have to hold your phone in your hand. You always have a built-in stand, and you also have a wallet that's going to help you pay for things. Of course, you have Apple Pay built into here, but Google Pay or Android Pay, whatever it's called these days, it's the same difference, guys. But just being able to throw on a battery pack when you're out and about and not have it fall off is a convenience that you cannot live without. As Android users, we've had that envy for a long time, and manufacturers are now deciding to put the mag ring in Android devices. So this is slowly coming to the Android world. And if I was a betting man, I would say that Samsung is going to come out with their old SamSafe in the next iteration, just because it's a feature that all of us want. And it's an awesome innovation. So again, that's what I like about iPhones. You get all these accessories, you get just about anything you want for the iPhone. Now that being said, guys, Bluetooth, in my opinion, sounds a lot better on Android just because of the codecs that they have, aptX, aptX HD, LDAC, etc. I noticed right out the gate, I think my headphones sound better on an Android device, and I did pick up the AirPods, as you guys could see, the AirPods Generation 2, the Pro, and they sound good. Noise cancellation is definitely on point with these, but I honestly think that Soundcore's latest offering sounds much better than the AirPods Pro, and a lot cheaper as well. When you're buying an accessory from Apple, you're paying that Apple tax, you're paying that premium for having an Apple device, and all these manufacturers do it, so I'm not knocking Apple for that. But I think you'd have more options when it comes to accessories with Bluetooth on an Android device. Like smartwatches, I love my smartwatches, and they're just more functional on Android. My Garmin watch, I can get notifications, but I'm not able to reply to them. I'm not able to go in and see my text message and just reply from my watch. On an Android, if it's paired with Android, I'm able to do that. And with certain other smartwatches, I can take calls from my wrist as well. If you have an iPhone, you basically are stuck with the Apple Watch, and I'm just not down with that. I'm just not a square watch type of person. I might pick one up, who knows? I'm all about this iLife, if you will. Accessories, definitely a plus on iPhones. Bluetooth, definitely more of a plus on Android. When it comes to another feature that I noticed right out of the gate is just how long this battery lasts. Now, a lot of people with the 13 Pro are complaining that this isn't as good. I've never had the 13 Pro. This is my first iPhone in like 10 years, and I am impressed with this battery life. I can only imagine what the 13 Pro was like if you guys had it, but I cannot kill this thing in a day. I've tried, and Wi-Fi is usually not on. I'm usually on 5G all the time. Bluetooth is on. Everything that I can turn on is on, and I'm constantly getting a day and a half with this battery, and I'm just super impressed with it. One time I really didn't do that much. Sometimes on the weekend I'm just lazy and I'm watching TV, or I'm not really doing much with my phone. I was able to make it through the entire weekend. That's 2 days without even charging this device. But for the most part, average work day, average social day, I get a day and a half without any issue. So I am super impressed with this battery life. As you know, Androids are not really the best when it comes to battery consistency. This only drains about 2% for me overnight, and that is something that I woke up and I was actually really shocked. And the always on display as well doesn't really drain all that much, enough to impact my battery on a daily basis. I think it's drained maybe like 7% having always on display versus not. Again, that's not a scientific test. It's just something that I kind of casually looked at. But I don't notice a huge difference, so I leave the always on display, well, always on. So battery life is definitely killer on the 14 Pro, and charging this up from 0 to 50% takes about 30 minutes. Of course, we got to talk about the camera, and this might be a little controversial. I think the camera is good. It's a flagship camera. There's a lot of features in here. There's a lot of things that you can do. There's a lot of options and whatnot, and you have some cool like effects that you can do, especially in portrait mode. You can change the light and you can do a whole bunch of different things. Again, it's a flagship camera. It takes really good pictures, but I think the Pixel 7 Pro takes way better photos than the iPhone does. I'm going to show you some photos in a little bit as well, guys, but I really like the photos that come from this phone. I think they're crisp. I think they're clean. Everything is really nice. But the 7 Pro just is a little bit crisper, a little bit cleaner, and especially when it comes to zoom. I don't really think the iPhone does a great job when it comes to zoom, guys. I mean, you can see the detail. It's really not all there. If you're just posting on the gram, this is a nice camera. And don't get me wrong, you definitely are getting some nice shots. You're getting some really clear, crisp shots. Again, it's a flagship phone. But I think people who always said iPhones take better photo than Android users, that's no longer the case. And what people have said as well is that you get a better experience with certain apps, and I definitely have noticed you get a better experience on iPhone with certain apps. Again, it comes down to developers, where they want to devote their time. Are they going to devote their time to Android, which is kind of really out there when it comes to devices? There's a ton of different devices out there, and it's really fragmented. So the iPhone offers developers a one-stop shop. And I think that's why they put more time into it. Let me know down in the comments below. But in terms of just going outside and taking a shot and taking video, I think you're getting decent shots once again. But I think on Android, especially the Pixel 7 Pro, you get a much better image quality. I mean, that beer is making me thirsty, so it's definitely a nice quality. I'm going to show you some samples, but to end it out, if you get an iPhone or you get the latest Pixel, you're going to have a nice experience. Again, it really depends on your preference. Some people prefer the oversaturated Samsung look. Some people prefer the more natural tone. It really depends on preference. And for the most part, if you're just sharing on the gram or Twitter or wherever you're sharing, it's getting compressed anyway, so it's going to look good regardless. But again, I no longer think that the iPhone takes better photos. That's just my opinion. Take a look at some of these shots in video and let me know what you think about the quality. Again, I think it's still an excellent quality. It's flagship specs, bro, so you're getting a really nice camera experience. So now the front-facing camera is capable of 4K 60, and this is the quality. As I walk through the madness of Times Square, this is what you can expect from the front-facing camera. And the rear camera is also capable of 4K 60 as well. Let's head over to the rear camera and see what that's all about. So here we are at 4K 30. Little opera in the square. Wide angle. 2x zoom. Lastly, I just want to end out this video, guys, with a couple other points. I like my Google Feed on an Android phone. I think my Google Feed does a really nice job. It knows me after all this time. iPhones does a nice job with their feed here as well, but it's not really customized. It's not really tailored to me, but I can change these widgets. So I do have my YouTube Music widget, the calendar, the weather, and if I scroll down here, you're going to be able to see like a map and my battery life. And again, screen on time, 2 hours and 28 minutes. I like both iterations, but I find myself picking up my Pixel device just to get my Google Feed and kind of waste some time throughout the day, to be honest with you. I think this is a lot more of a time waster. But I like how Apple does certain things as well. I like the fact that I can swipe down and get access to my last recently used applications. I like the fact that we have two slide down menus, one on the right to get some access to quick toggles, and one on the left to get access to any notifications. On Android, you just kind of bring it down for your notifications and toggles all at once. Whichever one you prefer, I think they're both really good. Again, it depends on preference. I like Apple's one-handed mode as well. I think that's pretty useful, especially with this more boxy design. Again, guys, the operating systems are really getting close these days, so in terms of which one is better, it comes down to preference. Do you like a Samsung TV or do you like an LG TV? Both are really good, but some offer you specifics that others don't. It's like Apple's walled garden. If you like the Apple ecosystem, stay with Apple. If you want a little bit more flexibility when it comes to a device, Android is definitely where it's at. And that's how I want to end out the video, is with this whole blue versus green bubble. Now, my main SIM is in the iPhone 14 Pro. I switched it over, and of course there's no SIM card slot, so it is eSIM, which I'm not super happy about, but again, it is what it is. You can't fight what you can't win. The minute I switched over my SIM, so many people said, wow, you're blue now, welcome to the good side, I'm really happy that you're blue. This is just peer pressure. It's just really stupid. It's just really dumb. I could say the same thing when I had an Android and turned on RCS and sent my other fellow Android users high quality video and images. And I could say the same thing about iPhone users. Hey, you're not getting the best quality because, well, you're not green yourself. It's just really dumb. And I just wish we could all get along at some point. I understand why it's being done, but it's all about the user experience. It's all about giving people a pleasurable experience with any $1,000 device that you're using. So the whole green versus blue debacle, bubbledness, is just really dumb. Don't buy this phone just to turn blue. everyone who told me I'm so glad you're blue, I was like, well, I might actually be going back to green anytime soon, so don't get too comfortable. I mean, at the end of the day, we can all just use WhatsApp or something similar and send high quality video or photo to anybody on any platform. And that's the same with FaceTime. I just use WhatsApp for the most part when it comes to video. Everybody I know is on WhatsApp. And it's just really Apple trying to hypnotize people into thinking blue is better and FaceTime is better when it's really the same thing. I know, I'm going to leave it at that. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts on blue versus green and all of this nonsense, guys. But I really like Apple's operating system. I think it's clean. I think it's smooth. It's just as smooth as the latest Android phone. They're really getting close. I have had some bugs with it. I've had some apps kind of freak out on me, and that's just like on Android. Again, it's an operating system. The Bionic A16 does a really nice job, and so does the Tensor 2 chip on the Pixel 7 Pro. Both devices are smooth, guys, both flagship phones. If you pick up a flagship, you're gonna get a flagship experience. But the iPhone's gonna give you 5 years of updates, which I think really improves the value of the phones. Android, it depends on manufacturer. You might get 3, you might get 5, you might get 1, you might get none. It really depends. Again, that's the fragmentation. Whereas on Apple, guaranteed 5 years of updates means you can use this phone for at least 5 years. Now, at the end of the day, which phone am I gonna keep? I'm keeping my main SIM in my iPhone 14 Pro here. I really like the experience. I really like a change for once. I think from time to time, especially if you're a diehard Apple or a diehard Android, it's good to change. We're all the same, but we're all different, and it's good to try new things. It's good to try new experiences. So for the next year, I'm going to stay iPhone 14 Pro. My work SIM is in my Pixel 7 Pro, which I'm going to use on a daily basis as well, side by side with the iPhone. I might do some more comparisons if you're interested in iPhone 14 Pro versus Pixel 7 Pro. Let me know down in the comments below. But again, I think the best of both worlds is to be able to carry 2 devices. I know most people don't have 2 phones. I really don't like carrying 2 phones, really, but it's what I have to do for work. So I have my personal and I have my work. I might switch them. I don't know, guys. I'll let you know in like 6 months. But for the moment, I'm keeping my main line in my iPhone, keeping my work line in my Pixel 7 Pro. I think it's good to try both. But I'm happy with the iPhone 14. Again, if you're looking to switch, I would say go for it. Play around with it. You have a 2-week return period. Let's be honest. Play with it for 2 weeks. If you don't like it, pick up the Pixel 7 Pro. You're going to be really happy. And if you like it, stick with it. Enjoy it for however long you keep your phone. At the end of the day, I'm super happy with the 14 Pro. I really like having an iPhone for a change. It's good to change up. It's like if you eat chicken every day, you want to eat fish from time to time. And this is the fish, guys. I definitely wanted to change, and I'm happy that I did. Let me know what you think about these 2 devices. Are you more of an Android, more of an iPhone? Have you switched either way, and what are your experiences? Let me know down in the comments below, but I really appreciate you guys watching. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in another video.